Oh, hey there, Paul Hope, 49er Faithful UK. It's been a minute since our last live show, so we decided to do this week's review as a live as we break down the 49ers' massive Monday night victory over the Panthers. So sit back, don't go anywhere, as I'll be right back with some familiar faces right after this.
But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
Welcome back. Today, we're breaking down the 49ers' 20-9 victory over the Carolina Panthers to move the Niners to 8-4 on the season. We had explosive plays even, standout moments on both sides of the ball, and back-to-back victories for the 49ers. We're here to give you the full UK perspective, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And no, I'm not just talking about tonight's guests. As I've teased, I have three very special guests joining me to talk all things 49ers. As always, drop your thoughts in the chat. I want your MVPs, your biggest takeaways, and your spicy hot takes, as I believe the Discord game day thread might have got a little tasty. But more about that when I mention Discord. I'm delighted to be welcoming back Kev Williams to the 49er Faithful UK.
Good evening, Paul. Evening, Faithful. How are we doing?
Not bad. I heard you may have abused some privileges, but don't respond to that right now because we'll get into that.
Oh.
I'm also lucky enough to be joined by Lee Gowland.
Now then, fellas, in Kev's defence, I think it was me that was abusing the privileges.
And in your defence, I think I abused that privilege a couple of weeks ago. So I appear to have got away scot-free. And joining us, last but not least, I think this guy is probably more positive than me as a 49ers fan, which some may find hard to believe. But it is, of course, Jay Peplow.
Good evening, guys. How you doing? It's been a while.
It has been.
It has. Well, chaps, thank you for joining me. I hope you've all done your homework because I'm in Gareth's seat tonight. And Gareth normally starts these shows, Lee, by asking if you've done your homework. So putting you on the spot, Lee, have you done your homework?
Have I done my homework? So that would be the 3 talking points. I don't have 3 talking points. I've probably got 2 talking points. And one of them is going to reflect badly on the last time I did a review show. So my first talking point is the defense proved me wrong. And the second one is don't worry about Brock.
Okay. I like that. Kev, as you did the preview show, I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah, I've got 3. I've got Hook. I've got the best free agent signing and special teams mediocrity. Now, I know you don't like to do special teams, but I'm not part of the podcast. So, I'm going to break that rule.
You're just a rule breaker, aren't you?
This week, I'm on fire.
You are on fire. And Jay, what are your talking points for tonight, buddy?
I will have to definitely go with Sky Moore. And secondly, would be a little bit of Gay.
Okie dokie. Just trying to write all these down. Gareth, you've got a newfound respect from me because we just come on the show, fire out talking points, and then you've got to try and keep them there. So I was surprised that none of you have gone down this road. So mine are ride the CMC train, which if you listened to the preview show, no surprise because my boy CMC. Luck ran out for Purdy. I'm normally quite good, Lee, at being Mr. Positive when it comes to Brock. It wasn't pretty. We'll get into that. And my third one was the Panthers grounded. There was a lot of talk heading into this one that the high-flying Panthers passing offense was going to have its way with the Niners, but we've got a couple of stars in that backfield. So, Lee, where shall we go first? Shall we go one of your talking points, or shall we go?
I mean, let's go with the defense. I mean, we came off the back of the Cardinals win. And I was basically telling everybody to calm down because our defense was dreadful in that game. to give up that many yards and that many points against the Cardinals, it just, to me, that proved we were dreadful as a defense. And I think the eye test, that opinion passed the eye test. We didn't look very good at all. But then you come to this week and we played unbelievable. I couldn't believe how well we played on defence. I don't know if Robert Saleh listens to this show and he was a little bit miffed about what I said to him. But yeah, I think the defence actually showed up in this game to a point where I think I've actually got a little bit of confidence there that we can go up against a decent team and stop them. So I think for me, looking at that game, the best thing for me was the way the defence played. We did have some individual performances on there, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But overall, they proved me wrong. They definitely proved me wrong in that game. And I don't think we can use the Panthers as an excuse to say that's why they look good. Because as you said, the Panthers have been on a little bit of a hot streak, especially when they're passing the ball through the air.
Yes,
What do you think, Jay?
I was going to say, go on, Jay.
Yeah, defense-wise, Bryce Huff getting a couple of pressures on the QB is also very promising. Obviously, with Bosa being out of action, we've got the next man up mentality, but to try and replace somebody like Bosa is a little bit difficult. So seeing Bryce Huff get some pressures is always nice to see.
Yeah, it was part of one of my talking points as well. One of mine was the best free agent signing, which is a quote from Kittle this week, in that bringing Salah back was the best free agent signing that we had. And I think, again, it's just seeing him visibly on the sideline is one thing. You can kind of just feel his pressure and his attitude through the screen, and that is definitely imposed on the defense. And
his intensity is unreal.
Yeah, it's unmatched,
absolutely unreal.
And the things
So G.A. Brown brought up that point about his intensity. He did an interview with Shady McCoy. Oh, God, what do you call him? I can't remember the other guy. But one of the things I said is, what's the difference between Salah and the previous two defensive coordinators? And the thing he pointed out was, it's his intensity. He absolutely loves the game. He brings that intensity into meetings rather than just on the field itself. Go into a meeting and he's so intense in the meeting as well. And it comes across to the players and they want to go out and run through brick walls for him. So you're right, Kev.
I was going to say, Kev, you were on the preview show and it was something that you were talking about. So just obviously, we'll go back to you because obviously there's the four of us. You've watched the show. You know the rabbit holes we go down. So come on, buddy. We'll let you get your point across.
Yeah, I think it's the things that he's able to do with that defense. And considering we've lost two huge hitters on that team, he's had to change what he's been doing on the fly pretty much each week as we lose players to injury, and we've just lost another one today. So that'll be challenging. So it's more that he's had to adjust the scheme. Obviously, they would have trained for a lot of a much different scheme in the off season through the first few weeks. And then as we've lost those players throughout the weeks, just the way he's been able to adjust now, like you said, Lee, there's been a couple of games where on the eye it's not been that impressive, but then we do seem to bounce back and we do seem to pick up again and have that feeling of having a good defense. And obviously to hold them to so fewer points was a massive standout for me. And I think that is obviously standout players, but that all comes from Salah from me, and to have him on that sideline again is just invaluable.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lee, for me, you 3 interceptions. You're looking at losing to fact that we had the 3 interceptions. We still won by double digits, and the defense balled out. And I mean, J.A. Brown isn't a Salah guy. He was in the building when Salah's come back. It was arguably his best performance as a 49er.
Yeah,
Mustafa, who's one of Najee's man crushers. There's quite a lot of them, by the way, people. Najee's man crushers, and I know he's not here. But he was full of energy early on. And one thing that I think Salah has definitely got back from this defense, for me watching, is that swarm mentality when the ball's out. So we talk about the break and not bend mentality in the eye test, but the fact that, the first interception, they're automatically in the red zone and they don't punch it in for a touchdown. Then as soon as, I think I get his name wrong, Rico Dowdle was on the outside, there was 3 of them, just boom, they got the ball carrier. And that's something, Lee, that's ingrained in you as kids. As soon as that ball's out, you get out there. But we don't always see that intensity. We definitely didn't see it before Salah come back. So I think the fact that this high-powered Panthers offense only put up 9 points, I think the fact that we started with the defense is pretty good, really.
Yeah, definitely. I must admit, when we did lose the toss, I was a little bit nervous when the Panthers deferred, because I always think Shanahan's teams are much, much better teams playing with a lead. When they have to play from behind, that's when we start to see them struggle. And potentially, I mean, I was going to say that's why Brock might have kind of imploded in the first quarter and a half, but we didn't really go behind. So,
I mean, we're going to touch upon the Brock, and I don't know if any of you 3 fine gentlemen have gone back and watched the game tape and taken the emotion out of it. I'm going to sound like Mr. Positive, guys, but they're not that bad when you go and watch it back. The first one, I would argue that Jennings didn't run that route properly. However, Nadji has taken over your mantle, Lee, and I mentioned his name a lot tonight. He told you off, Lee, for mentioning other players from other teams. JC Horn was definitely at the top of Nadji's list. And when I was watching that game back, I was cursing Nadji. Because, again, sometimes when you look at the interceptions in the NFL, and Kurt Warner, who knows a lot more than me about quarterbacks, has done a great 20-minute video on YouTube where he breaks these down and he shows you the route running and he explains the mentality. And I'm not picking on JJ Lee before you drive down and beat me up, because I know he's a firm favourite of yours. But go back and watch that one, JJ on the route. But the second JC Horn interception, I know we've disappeared off on a rabbit hole. That's just great play by a DB. Brock's not even looking at that side of the ball, so you can't fault the quarterback in my eyes. But this is where you probably jump in and disagree with me. So who's going to go first?
I'll agree with you, because it's the first thing that I've got written down here, saying you've got to give credit to the Panthers D on 2 of the interceptions. The second one was very dubious, I must admit. That's on Brock 100%. But the first and the third, especially the third, were just fantastic plays by Horn.
Yeah, the third one's what I meant when I said 2, because Horn had 2 interceptions. I was talking about his, just to clarify my point.
But
I think we're lucky, Jay, that Horn didn't play in the second half. I think it might have been a different game, because he was ruled out with a concussion, wasn't he? So it could have been a different game.
I think you got to give a bit of credit to Brock as well with being able to shake it off and play the way he did after that.
Yeah, I think the pass to Kittle after the interceptions just before half-time, where I don't know if you watched he freezes the safety with his eyes, and it's not a no-look pass, but it's quite there. It goes over to Kittle. But what do you think, Kev? Do you think I'm being too positive about my boy Brock, or do you think,
I do agree in that. I think, like you said, when you take the emotion out of it, when you're watching it, and you're there in person, it feels like Jimmy G moments again. All of a sudden, it feels like the world's collapsing around you, and it did feel slightly like that. Obviously, he had the 3 interceptions. He was lucky not to have 5. He was very lucky not to have 5 interceptions on that night, if we're really honest. However, going back and watching them, they were the right reads. They were the right passes. They just weren't in the right places. And I think that obviously he's had a lot of time off. He's going to be rusty. We need to accept that. We still won the game, so all good. But yeah, I'm still a little bit on the fence as to where I'm at with that one. I feel as though they were quite poor. JC Horn did make an incredible play on that third pass. However, that was way off where it needed to be. It should have been hitting Pearsall on the run over the top of that defender, and I don't think it would have even hit his feet. So again, great play by JC Horn, but another poor throw. And yeah, it could have easily been 5. There were some pretty poor throws throughout that game.
Come on, Lee. You've been saving this up.
So all three were thrown late. He didn't release it as quick as he normally releases it. 2 of them were underthrown. And I watched a good article by Dan Orlovsky.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I watched Kurt Warner.
Orlovsky. And he picked it out. He said every time Brock has an interception, it's down the middle, it's over 20 yards, he throws it late, and it's underthrown. And the stats back that up. He had three passes over 20 yards down the middle. All 3 were intercepted. So he does have a kind of a blind spot. Hopefully he'll get out of that, because he can be trained to get out of that. It's fixable. But it's a second game back after a long layoff.
Yeah.
So it is easy to make excuses for him, but he's also a gunslinger. We've known that from day one. I mean, he reminds me of Brett Favre. He'll take a chance. He'll take a shot. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. And I dare bet all 3 of those, had he released them a little bit earlier, all 3 would have been touchdowns.
Yeah, the JJ one, I think, like you said, JJ drifted on his route, and it's a great play by Harnham, not taking anything away from that. Contrary to belief, people, we can criticise the 49ers, and we can criticise 49ers players. Like you said, Lee, I thought when we'd signed Brock to the $265 million contract, the days of debating quarterbacks and quarterback controversy, and Kev uttered an infamous number 10, but I'm not that worried, you know. I mean, I didn't stay up like you guys and watched it live. So watching it back without the emotion, and like you said, Kev, there was a couple of throws. I was like, oh God, it could have been 5 here. And we all remember the Ravens game where he had the 4 interceptions. But like you said, Lee, he's got that gunslinger mentality. And when he plays in this system, a lot of Purdy's successes to do with the anticipation. And that's what Kurt Warner was talking about. You know, like you said, getting that ball out. And it's going to come. You've got to remember as well, JJ isn't the fastest receiver. And especially on that route, it made me think, we had a really explosive wide receiver one there. Jay talked about Sky Moore.
Oh, like Jacob Cowan.
Well, yeah, it's someone with a bit of pace. And obviously Purcell's route running's good, but he's just coming back as well. And I just think it was nice to see him kind of go back to that safety valve and Kittle. And obviously CMC, which we're going to talk about. A lot of people, Jay, seem upset that we running CMC into the ground. CMC is on fire, so Shanahan's going to use the hot hand. But I thought the Brock conversation would come up. So are we done on Brock, or should we keep on going? What do you reckon, chaps?
I just want to clarify, I'm not comparing him to Jimmy G. Before anybody shoots me down. Just in the moment, at 1:30 in the morning, full of caffeine, with the emotion, it starts to feel that way.
To be fair, the very first pre-season game he played against the Raiders in his rookie season, when we did the review of that show, that's exactly what I said. He looks like a mini Jimmy G.
It's better than being Trey Lance.
Well,
I was going to say, Jay, if he's tuning in, he's thinking, come on, Jay, you were on the number 10, you know, you were there defending right till the end. And I mean, Kyle Shanahan came out and explained away some of the interceptions, and, you know, he said he's never wavered on Purdy, which he's going to say that because he's just signed him to a big deal. But like I said, I'm not that worried, you know, chaps. I think he's just going to I'd rather he get it out of the way now in a game like that, where it hasn't really mattered and we've still won, especially coming into the stretch of games that we've got. You know, Sunday's going to be a big game, which we'll kind of touch upon a little bit on this show, but we are going to leave that for the preview pod, which is coming up in a couple of days. Nice little plug there, Lee. You know, I've been away for a while, but you know, I'm trying to get those plugs in there.
So let's quickly go back to what Shanahan said. Sometimes you just can't take him seriously. He said all 3 balls were thrown exactly into the position that they needed to be thrown. So that means one of 2 things. He released it late, which we know he has, or he was trying to throw it to the defensive back. I prefer to think he released it late.
You go back to like when, you know, I first started watching and Kaepernick had that fast ball and the ball was just slung at receivers no matter how far away or close they were, like a rocket ball. And Kurt Warner was saying that Brock throws it with a bit more touch on there. And like I said, keep going on about that first one. I think JJ needs to look at it. The second one, where he's looking for Purcell in the red zone, I think he just got carried away. And we've talked about Brock being like Superman at times, trying to kind of force it. And as I said, the third one, when you watch it back, you know, he's going through his read. He's never going to start going through his reads as far as that way. The players were all on the right-hand side. It was just a fantastic play. But it's just good, Lee, that we can come on a show where we've given 3 interceptions. There could have been 2 fumbles. And the fact that, as you said rightly at the top of the show, the defense needs a lot of its flowers because they only scored 9 points. And if you're only scoring 9 points in the NFL, you're not going to win. And that's why I said at the start, chaps, this was a massive win for me. 8-4, puts the playoffs within reach. I've seen a lot of the talking heads talk about that. The Niners record at the moment, with our conference wins, our in-division wins. If we get to 10, it's looking very likely we're going to be in the playoffs. At the moment, I believe it'd be a wild card because obviously the way the Rams are playing. But as we said, Lee, this is supposed to be a down season for the Niners.
I was going to say, you need to remember the Rams and the Seahawks face off against each other in a few weeks' time. And then we've got the Seahawks on the last game of the season as well. So, it might be a wild card spot, but it might not necessarily be the 7th seed. We might be higher than that. I mean, at the moment, if we are the 7th seed, if the playoffs happen next week, this Sunday, then we'd be up against Philadelphia in Philly. I don't fancy our chances there. If we can somehow manage to navigate getting round Philly, i.e. somebody else plays them, and we make it to the NFC Championship game and have to come up against somebody like the Rams down in SoFi, I fancy our chances.
So before we move on, Lee, I'm crossing off the talking points. Don't worry about Brock. Have we covered that one? Do you think? Because
I agree.
It's all right.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's only his second game back after a long layoff, and he does need that little bit of confidence again. It's like starting all over again. So I'm not worried at all.
I think one thing for him as well is he does bounce back quite well. He's a very positive-minded person.
Yeah.
He will have positivity in himself and trust in himself that he can go out next week and throw 3-4 touchdowns. He really doesn't doubt himself. He knows he's got the skill set.
I think when you've got someone like George Kittle giving you a pep talk every single play, that's always going to help.
Yeah, gotta love George. Kev, your first talking point. I can't read my own writing, so I'm going to come back to you.
Hook. Obviously, we've not really covered the Ayuk situation that much, and I don't really want to labour on too much about it. But I wanted to highlight that because we did have a little bit of Jennings drama in the off-season as well, and he's had a few duff games, but I thought he played really well this week, and obviously getting punched down below and not reacting to it in the moment, but reacting to it after the game. Absolutely loved that. Absolutely loved that about him. I love his intensity. And if you were to take that away from him, then he doesn't get his touchdown, does he? He is a true battler. And I feel as though the space that Ayuk will, obviously Kyle's not writing anything off. He's hoping he can play this season, supposedly, is that we're going to need to look at their options. And not having Ayuk gives us the ability to extend Jennings. And for me, I know people have talked about keeping him, not keeping him. I'd love to keep him because I feel as though it gives us that fire in your belly that you need. You've got somebody like Pearsall who's cool, calm receiver, running routes, running all the way down the field, where you've got JJ there just absolutely hitting the ground and pounding away and really getting up in people's faces. And I think it really adds that intensity. Again, we've mentioned intensity from Salah. I feel as though we get that from JJ as well on the offensive side of the ball.
I think to do him a bit of credit there, and I don't think you're meant to be as harsh, he isn't a true X receiver. He isn't that top speed. If we had our first choice offense, JJ is your option number 3, and he's for that short yardage. He's for that touchdown. That touchdown on Monday night was typical JJ. The ball's fizzed in. He's got 3 defenders around him. He's fought them off. He scored. And it's the 3rd and Juwan, when you're looking for the 3rd and long. But the fact that he's been thrust into this, wide receiver 1 role, because, with Ayuk, how you get fired on your day off, I don't know. And if my boss needed me to go to any meetings for $25 million, I'd be going to every single meeting and taking the minutes. But I'll be honest, when the news broke, I was a little bit confused by it all. I didn't understand. I don't know whether you 3 gentlemen understood it more than me, because they've voided 2026, but some people reckon that means his whole contract's voided, or does that just mean you've got an out?
It's only next year. Yeah, right. It's only next year. So, technically, there is a chance that he does play for us again.
Yeah,
and the fact that he hasn't, the fact that he hasn't challenged it.
Well, Richard Sherman was saying that basically he would expect Ayuk to need to play, even if he wants to move on, because you're looking at effectively a season and a half where you haven't played. The rumours are, from the articles that I've read, Lee, that the reason that Ayuk and his agent haven't, contested it is they probably wouldn't win. And 2, they'll kind of want to test that free agent market. But you're right, Kev. It gives us a bit of freedom. A lot of people didn't like that contract when it was signed. A few people are saying, is it a shift in power between Shanahan and Lynch? Because rumours have believed that Lynch had accepted the trade. Shanahan sprinted up the stairs and stopped it, and the contract was re-signed. I don't know what you make of that, Lee, because we've always talked about Shanahan being the king and Lynch kind of being there at Shanahan's kind of request. But is it maybe above them too? Is it maybe his ownership now saying,
No,
some of the decisions you've made?
Yeah, I don't think it's ownership. I think it'll be John. Because Jed's made that perfectly clear a good few years ago now. He doesn't have anything to do with the football side of the business. He let John and Kyle do that. And as we've seen from the off-season, it's shifted more towards John than it has Kyle. So I think John's in charge of that. And bear in mind, so Ayuk has to pass waivers to become a free agent. And he's quite sought after, and I don't think he'll pass waivers. I think somebody will pick him up, so it'll be somebody's issue. There's a very good chance that's either going to be Pittsburgh or New England. One of the two of them are going to pick up Ayuk if we release him, and I don't think we'll release him. If we void it as guarantees from next season, all of a sudden he becomes a cheap resource, and we can still keep him and trade him.
In unrelated news, Conor Ryan's vintage business might have a white road number 11 jersey for sale, size medium, not very well worn, but all jokes aside. So, Jay, one of your talking points was Sky Moore. So, given that Kev's transitioned us into wide receivers, I'm interested to know because obviously Sky Moore was coming for a lot of stick from the Niners fans. Obviously, he had that 98-yard, kickoff return last week. He flashed in the game on Monday from the bits that I saw. So was that the route you were going down? Do you want to see more of Sky Moore in the wide receiver room, or was it more special teams?
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, his special teams performance over the last two games has obviously been incredible. 98 last week. I think he had a 43 long on Monday, 80 in total. But the pace he's got, I think it warrants at least a couple of plays out on wide receiver just to see if it can progress into something a bit more, not permanent, but just to have another level of uncertainty for the opposition.
What do you reckon, Kev? Do you want to see more Sky Moore in this offense, or do you just want to keep him on special teams? Because that's going to link into your point in a minute about the special teams.
Yeah. I think
there is an order. I've got to run an order. Don't worry, Chad.
I could see it developing. I think we need to give any kind of receiver that we've got an opportunity, because we need all the help we can get in that position. It has been involved in a few plays. I think he's caught 1 or 2 passes throughout the season, which seems quite low. He's clearly being brought in for special teams and as a return specialist. But I feel as though I agree with Jay in that we should be giving him that opportunity, and he offers a different way in which we could utilize that playbook. It may be that we don't actually have many plays crafted to his speciality as a wide receiver. So it could just be that we don't have it in our arsenal at the moment and in the playbook. But yeah, any resource at wide receiver, I think would be most grateful of it.
What do you reckon, Lee? Do you want to see more of him in the offense, or do you just want to leave him on special teams?
No, I'd like to see more of him in the offense. I mean, he's got the speed to take the roof off the defense, keep them honest. So I'd like to see him used, even if it's as a decoy.
Yeah.
Stick him on there. Yeah, give him a post route, let him go. Just take one of the safeties away, or take one of the cornerbacks away. Just give us a little bit more space in the middle, because I mean that's Brock's bread and butter, isn't it? Over the middle, but not deep. Yeah, between 10 and 15 yards, hit Kittle or hit one of the other receivers on a crossing route. And that is his bread and butter. So if we had Sky Moore, it just gives us that little bit more space in the middle there. And while I'm talking, Colin's right, by the way. Good spot, right. Colin.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the advantage for us doing a live show tonight is we can obviously have people's comments. So Colin's put there, everybody that it's players with less than 4 years would hit waivers. Right. So, I mean, to be honest, it's the gift that keeps giving Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if you saw him with all his flashy jewelry and, I was a big fan of him on the field because I think he brought and to quote Najee, I don't get too hung up on the business side of it. When they unfollow the team on social media and they go out like that with the flashy videos. I don't know whether it's my age or whether I'm a bit past all that, but that doesn't bother me anymore, And I suppose what you would have to ask yourself, Kev, if he was to come back, is he going to be playing with his business head on? He's not going to be going for the contested passes because is he worried about another injury? And we're at the business end of the NFL now. We've all talked about the game on Sunday where, split decisions, Brock's a couple of seconds too late getting the ball out, the fumble recovery. The Panthers themselves will have wanted some players back, but you don't mess about at this stage of the season. I could have seen us easing back in if we were the Giants and we were out of playoff contention, but there's too much to play for at the moment for me. What do you chaps reckon?
Obviously, he's an incredible player. When he's on it, when he's on his day, he's incredible. To have that skill set back in the team would be amazing. However, I feel as though every game, well, most games from this point on are must-win games for us to get into that playoff position. We've got to beat the Browns. We've got to beat the Titans to give us a fighting chance. So having the opportunity to ease somebody back into that lineup almost goes against trying to achieve that. And if we talk about, from Ajax's perspective, we talk about business decisions, I agree with Lee. He has to put himself in the shop window. He has to. So from his point of view, if I was him, I would be wanting to get back on that field and show what I can do. And related to all the Niners stuff and all the social media stuff, I also do ignore it slightly, but then we've got to remember that locker room is full of 21-year-olds who can be influenced quite easily. So I do feel as though all of that attitude and all of that behaviour really starts to eat into the locker room. We seem to have a really solid locker room. That can be kind of the byproduct of the sport, and the millions of pounds that get handed out to it is that showboating element of it. But do you not
think, Kev, though, at the moment that the stuff that he posted, I think it was an old video that's resurfaced as well. It wasn't
something
recent.
Came out, an old video came out, yeah.
And he hasn't come out and like
flagged the
team off and a bit flashy and showing his bling off. I mean, unrelated, we all love to show merch off on the UK Faithful Show. Someone buys something new, gets whacked in the groove. The hat that you've got there, Kev, I spotted that on Amazon. Not allowed to buy anymore at the moment.
You're right.
However, I shared it with everybody else. This hat's on offer, go buy it. But I know what you're saying. At the moment, I think the culture and the locker room we've got, and that's what is interesting. Your final thought as such was the special teams being mediocre. Yes, we don't like to talk about special teams because we always tend to jinx them. But go on, Kev, lead us in with the special teams talk tonight.
That is why I use the term mediocre. I didn't want to get ahead of myself in that I'm happy with mediocre special teams. I'm happy with just average special teams because it's been so just disastrous these past few years. We are making good returns. We are stopping long returns, which I think is another pivotal thing for us as well. I was looking, and on average over the last 10 games, we're only conceding 25 yards on kick returns. We were conceding way above that in the previous seasons. The kicking seems to be good, even replacing, obviously, going to Jay's point that you get onto is Gay, even when we lose Pinheiro. And everything seems to be coming together there. Obviously, we brought in a new coach for special teams. That seems to be paying off now. And just to be able to have a slight bit of confidence in special teams that everything's not going to fall apart feels quite nice. So I'm enjoying special teams at the moment. Oh, look at that. You can't show off. You're just like Ayuk. I said you're oh, no. See, it's rubbed off now.
So, to be fair, Kev, I was going to say, we've done well, chaps. 33 minutes into a preview show. We haven't talked about CMC yet, which we're going to get to it. But you've led me nicely on your special teams talk. Jay, you had a talking point of a little bit of gear. I was guessing you were talking about kickers, but if I'm wrong, this is your opportunity, buddy, because you've got the mic.
It's a PG podcast or live, so we'll have to keep it regarding the kicker, I think. I just going back to all of our the woes that we've had over the last couple of months regarding the kickers. It's just nice to see somebody come in, and everybody would have been apprehensive on his first kick. Everybody would have been, and just waiting to see it flip back to what we had previous. But then just to see him confident and just chuck those field goals over every time, it was just nice and relaxing. We'd already had quite a few ups and downs regarding the interceptions and stuff. But for him to step up and just settle his nerves, I think that settled the team's nerves as well, because he's come from the Bears, if I remember correctly.
Commanders. So life comes at you quick.
Sorry.
The Commanders picked up Jake Moody, who released Matt Gay, who then
That's
ended
there.
up on the 49ers. So the life of a kicker comes at you fast, Jay, in the NFL.
It was just nice to see, because we've got plenty of things that we got concerns over or doubts over and that sort of thing, and a new kicker after Piñeiro's gone, and he just steps in and it just sets all the fans and the players at ease, I think, of just knowing that get him to that position that he needs to be, and we're going to do a solid.
I thought what you were going to say, Jay, was Lee likes to reference that you should never use a draft pick on a kicker, especially a third round draft pick. And like what Kev said, if you tuned into our content on a regular basis, we've talked about the last couple of years that we need all three phases of the game to complement each other. When we went on that amazing run in 2023, the offense was lights out, the defense was a little bit behind, special teams was non-existent. Obviously, it's been well documented. First one of the year, Lee, because I checked on the podcast. I haven't said that for a while. So, like Kev said, the fact that we cleared house in the preseason, we've given the new coordinator the tools to do the job. And like Shell said there, she has to breathe deeply every time there's a PAT or a field goal. I don't think I have to. Recent games, it just seems to be a given. I know Eddie P was out with the injury, which is a shame, because a big shout out at this point, Lee, to William, who's out in San Francisco at the moment and doing a grand job in representing the 49er faithful. He even got a picture with Eddie Piñeiro with a flag. So we'll add Eddie to the wall of fame, because there's been a few Niners with the infamous flag. But was there anything you want to add, Lee, on special teams before we save the best till last and we talk about CMC?
Yeah, and you almost added it for us, mate. So what Piñeiro and Gay have proven is we don't need to spend a bloody draft pick on a kicker.
It's as if I know you. It's as if I know you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing that's come out of this. We don't need one. We can pick up a decent kicker anytime in the season. You don't even need one at the start of the season. Hey, let's not even have a kicker on our roster at the start of the season. Let's keep that. Let's keep that last roster space for somebody else until a couple of days before, and then bring in a kicker.
I think at the time when you look back at that draft, I think Shanahan and Lynch have even themselves said that they kind of felt like they had a settled team, and it was like a luxury pick. So then they went and used that. Where I think obviously with the injuries and the way the NFL is, as much as I hate to say it on a 49ers podcast, the Rams have drafted well. It just goes to show at the moment, there's a bit of a nightmare. Alex Simpson, you are banned from ever coming on the show and doing a Would You Rather, because that one you put up in the group the other day, I don't know if you've seen it. It was absolutely horrific. He asked you for a choice of two, which I'm not going to read out on air. I haven't been away for so many weeks to come back and get kicked off. But before we jump into the Sheffield watch party, which a few people will be delighted to know that the Niners are coming off a 2-game win streak. And yes, we're having a watch party in Sheffield, or a meet, or whatever you want to call it. The curse will be bandied about. The rain is shown that Brock, can he play in the rain? We do need to talk about my boy CMC. The game plan, well before he threw those 3 interceptions, was to let CMC run wild against the Panthers. The first 5 plays of the game went to McCaffrey. He finished with 31 touches on the day, which John Chapman said in his show afterwards. I don't want to see CMC get 31 touches, but I totally understand it. So before I wax lyrical about CMC, Kev, do you want to give your thoughts? Because you watched the game live. I'm sure the Discord thread was loving CMC running wild against the Panthers.
Yep, I was able to give my weekly announcement a reminder that CMC is good at football, which I tend to do every week. I do not mind him having 31 touches, apart from when we've won the game by a lot of points, so he doesn't need to be on the field. That's the only little gripe I have with Kyle on that one. If what he's doing is successful, then I would give him the ball as often as you can. What I did quite like, sorry to take the shine away from your boy a little bit here, Paul, is that Robinson was also involved as well, a lot more in pivotal plays. So he wasn't just like an extra body in there to run it on first down. He was actually getting first downs for us. So I did like the mix that we had on, I nearly said Sunday then,
Yeah,
on
I
a
like
Tuesday
that.
morning. I quite like the mix, but yeah, CMC and the scenes with Roger Craig at the start as well, with the tears, and they kept on coming back to him as well in the box was great to see, as well as mutual respect there. I like that.
See, I have some stats to back this up. And complimentary football, Kev, I like the fact that Robinson is getting more touches. And as you said, he's doing the hard yardage. There's a lot of talk about CMC being over relied on. He's being run into the ground. His average carry is 3.7 yards per carry. He's got the most receptions in the NFL at 81. So there's a lot of talk of all these diva wide receivers. Maybe we don't need to pay wide receiver Lee. Just get a couple of running backs like CMC and let them play both positions. And I think it shows that on the Shanahan offense, having an offensive weapon like CMC opens it up. And it's not like he's carrying the hard yards, as you said there, Kev. And I would like to see Robinson get more. But I think the fact that I would like to see CMC kind of not be in the passing game as much, because it would mean Kyle's got another weapon. Does that kind of make sense, Lee, where I'm going down that road? You look a Omar.
No. I understand what you're saying. Personally, I just think you should stock up with as many weapons as you can.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the draft or even in free agency, the more options we have, the harder it is for defensive coordinators to plan against us.
Yeah.
And you always have to plan for the end of CMC's career as well. All it takes is one injury.
Don't talk about injuries. I don't want people to put that out there. Don't manifest that. You know, at the moment, he's having one hell of a season. Offensive player of the year. As I said, he's been utilised in both the pass game, the run game. But it was interesting that I wanted to end on CMC. He wasn't the overall Discord MVP, was he, Kev?
He was not. No. Do you know what was interesting? I went and looked back. It alternated. The past 5 weeks, it's been Kittle, CMC, Kittle, CMC. They've just been passing the baton to and forth from one another. No, but by far, I think I've got the votes here. Jair Brown, obviously, incredible game from him. 2 interceptions. And it wasn't just the interceptions. His all-round play in that game was great. And I think it just goes back to my point earlier, is that the way that we're having to run this defense as well at the moment without being able to get to the quarterback, that secondary is pivotal to it. And I thought he had a brilliant game all around. Yeah. He had 24 votes. There was one other vote for Huff, and there was no votes for CMC. No, obviously, if you were around Paul, there maybe would have been one. But
I mean, he did fumble the ball.
He did. No, it was a forward play. That was a positive play.
It was a positive play, Lee. Don't be going there. I mean, to be fair, I'm glad we're kind of finishing off the game talk about the defense. You know, the Panthers, as I said at the start, they had the NFC Offensive Player of the Week from the week before. They had almost 500 yards of offense and 30 points too, getting absolutely destroyed on Monday Night Football. They had less than 250 total yards. They were 1 for 7 on third downs. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone, and they had 2 turnovers. And you mentioned before we went live, Lee, about the gold mine. We were there when Jair Brown got through into action against the Buccaneers, and we all kind of had a bit of an affinity. We were there when, obviously, the draft class, we kind of, wanted to see him succeed. And even if you take those 2 interceptions away, that was his best game. But for me, I was just buzzing to see 27 ball out, and Sherman give him his props on his show yesterday. So that was good for me.
Yeah, so I'm sure you all watch Baldy on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever he's at. Even Instagram, he's on Instagram as well. He picked out a play for quite a bit of praise, which would take you by surprise, and that was Jake Brendel.
That just took me by surprise.
Yeah. So he picked out one particular player where Jake Brendel took on 2 defenders and created that gap for CMC.
I told you that I don't think he's as bad as people make out, but he's not as good as some others. Jay, do you want to add your thoughts on Jair Brown and the defense before we transition smoothly into the events on Sunday?
Just an overall outstanding game for him. I thought the 2 interceptions were brilliant. And again, just momentum and a boost of confidence where and when we need it.
And I also saw, Lee, an interesting stat, a rabbit hole I'd like to go down. So someone on Twitter shared that about Kittle was playing at a Hall of Fame level before Purdy came along. And since Purdy's come along, it just goes to show you, like, in the span since Purdy has been his quarterback, he's number one for touchdowns among tight ends with 30. He's number one for yards per catch, 13.7. He's number one for yards per route run at 2.7, and receiving yards at 2 with 3,142. And that gives me a lot of confidence to see Brock and Kittle getting back into that groove. And as you said earlier about those offensive weapons, we're only going to get better. I said at the start, Kev, where's this team going to go? I don't believe we're the all-conquering 49ers of the past, but I tell you what, we get in the playoffs. And I've already seen the NFL UK thread where people are saying, can the Niners win the Super Bowl? And all the fans are jumping on them and saying no. And I think, let the haters hate. Nobody will want to play us in the playoffs, boys. And that is Mr. Positive coming out.
I said this weeks and weeks ago. It would be just like us to go on to win the Super Bowl with the team that you least likely think we're going to win the Super Bowl with.
Yeah. I can see us. I can see it's just that season where nothing seems to be going right consistently.
Yeah.
But we are to be 8-4 is some sort of miracle is happening at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The results we are getting, but also the way that we're getting them as well. We're grinding it out. We've kind of stood the test of time in some really, really tough spots, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and I do think we'll make the playoffs. It may be a wild card. I think it might have to be, but it's one of those where I can see us getting like blown out by the Rams again randomly, but then sticking it to the Seahawks in the final game of the season. It's just the way our season's going. So, yeah, hopefully not wild card, but we'll be in the playoffs definitely. Then a final game at Levi in February.
So before we transition, Jay, to some of the stuff that you've got to share, if you cast your mind back to those people who joined us in Leeds recently, we were joined by the three lads from the Early Hours podcast. One of them is a Bills fan, one's a Packers fan, and one's a Niners fan. And they've gone on this tour of America, and they've caught a couple of college games, but they were at Levi Stadium on Monday night, and they did a good shout out to the group. And as I said to you before, Lee, I always like to see people representing over there, and I believe it was the Niners fan first game at Levi's. William Lee is out there at the moment. If you are planning on heading over there between now and the end of the season, which I believe a few people are, do share lots of photos with the flag. You know, that keeps me happy. If you send them to me, I'll share them on our socials. And I'm on the positive train, everybody. We're winning the Super Bowl. And I know Lee thinks exactly the same as me.
Yeah, you're too right to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic. He isn't. And I'll just quickly go back to what Simon said. Don't forget that we won the Super Bowl with a 10-6 record. I'm not actually talking about the record that we've got. What I mean is, you look at our team and how we've suffered so many losses as far as like superstars, elite players is concerned. You look at the defense and you maybe pick two players out of the defense that, in fact, maybe even one, Demo. We've lost the other pivotal players, Bosa, Warner. And I think looking at the team, you don't expect that defense to go on and win a championship. But this is the type of thing that we're looking at the moment. Yes, we've got an easy schedule. I know that. But once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. It's any given Sunday. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So we need to have a strong finish in December, finish off this season the right way, and then go in with some confidence into the playoffs.
Well, a lot of people...
maybe have another watch party.
Well, a lot of people believe that the Rams are the number one seed, and we've obviously split the series with the Rams, and I know there's a lot of talk about the way we lost to them recently, but sometimes you've said to me often, Lee, that in the NFL, you can learn more from a defeat than you can in a victory. And as you said, this defense is getting better and better as the week goes on. I'm just worried about the offseason and Salah getting the maybe another chance at head coach, but that's a rabbit hole will disappear down. Red Jet Shell, you do always show the UK flag and you always tag us in your posts, which is much appreciated. We're a community at the end of the day. And I will say, Kev, you talk about Mrs. Williams not being a fan of me sending you stuff to buy. I'm sick of Fred Warner rocking up at a game and rocking new merch. And I'm on Google reverse images saying the San Francisco Giants hats that he wears. So whoever is getting Fred Warner his merchandise is doing a good job. And I'm not talking, we've been asked a question by Mike. Now, I will say, first of all, Mike, apologies from me. because this year I've had a lot go on off the field and I haven't been around as much. Add that to the fact that Lee's got to try and coordinate about 7 different people on about 4 different time zones. So the update is we do have some of the stuff, don't we, Lee? But when it's going to be available, we don't know yet.
So I think it was the Cardinals game. So we were supposed to get some of the UK faithful to go out and meet up with Nick at the 49ers Rush road trip the day before the Cardinals game. And he had a load of stuff to send back across the UK. But the guys didn't turn up to the 49ers Rush road trip, so we couldn't do it that way. And then this week, obviously, I'm supposed to be in San Francisco now. I was supposed to be at the Panthers game. And had I been there, I was going to arrange with Nick to get a load of the stuff, stick it in my suitcase and bring it home so that we didn't have all the customs fees or anything like that. And we were going to record a show out in San Francisco, and it was going to be the merch show. But obviously I haven't made it out there because of my new role at work, meaning I had to cancel my holidays, and unfortunately I haven't been able to go out. But as soon as we can get it done, we will. I wanted it done before the season started. As Paul's mentioned, I have to coordinate 3 different time zones because we've got people over in New York, New Jersey, we've got people in San Francisco, and then obviously myself. So we've got 3 major time zones there. So it's difficult to do it when we all either not at work or fast asleep in the middle of the night.
So what I'll do, I'm going to bring this with me on Sunday, the hoodie that I've got as well. I'll probably rock that on Sunday. I must say, Lee, the quality of the hat reminds me of the residency hats. Yeah. I'll be honest, not a massive fan of the flat cap that I've got, but I know you can sort them out. And we are going to sort the merch out, I promise you. And as Alex said there, that's something else that he's going to have to buy. But Jay, on that note, before we finish off on the Prediction League, which I know Kev loves to talk about, the Prediction League and the Dirty Points, at this point I'm going to come over to you because you've got a bit of a special announcement about what's in store for the people coming to Sheffield on Sunday.
Yes, mate. We've myself and Jamie Burgess have banged our heads together over the last couple of weeks, and we wanted to do some little giveaways for attendees of the meetup. So what started off as a little bit of a rough idea has turned out into us getting some actually outstanding, fantastic giveaways for everybody. The way it's going to work is everybody that is coming along will immediately get a raffle ticket. You will then be able to purchase some extra raffle tickets. Now, all the proceeds from these extra raffle tickets are going to be going to the Prince of Wales Hospice in Pontefract. This is down to one of our longest serving members of the group, Ruth Graham, who sadly lost her sister earlier this year. And I contacted her and she pretty much endorsed it, and she's blown away by the idea. So we're hoping to raise a bit of money for the Prince of Wales Hospice and also give away some fantastic prizes. I was hoping to reveal them, but with the technical issues that we've had this evening, I'm probably not going to. However, I can tell you what they are, and I will get some pictures put up on the group later this evening so everybody can see. Jamie is running his scratch card competitions for some little 49ers trinkets. Everybody be getting a scratch card, scratch it off and see what you've got. As for the giveaways, just to give you I'll give you a rundown of what we've got. We've got a Nick Bosa Funko Pop. We have a red George Kittle jersey, exactly the same as what I'm wearing at the moment. We have a selection of memorabilia from the 2011 International Series when they came over and played the Broncos. That is a program, couple of stick it stubs, a couple of fan flags, and also a full-size ball. We have amazingly been donated by Neil Elliott at 5 Star Imports a 2025 Salute to Service hoodie, which is unbelievable, especially considering he's a Seahawks fan.
He gets a lot of business from our group, though, so fair play.
He
to
does,
him.
and hopefully after this, he gets a little bit more as well. And if he is watching, where's my rivalries jersey? What else have we got? Wayne Humphrey has donated a T-shirt to us. David Neve has given away, or is giving us, a replica Super Bowl ring. We don't know which Super Bowl it's from, but obviously we've got 5 to pick from. Who else have we got? I'm just trying to think. I did have a list, but it's right.
So just to jump in there, Jay, while you're thinking. So what happened, Lee, is obviously the London watch party with obviously the NFL flex on the game, the delays, not everybody could make it. I know when Jay jumped aboard Jamie's little mini meet in Sheffield and it's snowballed, so I think there's 50 tickets sold. And Jay said he wanted to give something back to the community. So this is where this idea started, where there was a few freebies for people who may not have been able to make it to London.
Yeah.
And obviously jumping on board with the charity for Ruth. So what I was going to say, Jay, is obviously if you give me the details for the charity over the next few days, I'll share the link to our social media pages, because you don't have to donate. You don't have to come to the watch party to donate, but given the cause and what you've mentioned, I did say to Jay Lee that I'm declining a raffle ticket when I go in.
And I told you I don't accept that.
I'll support the charity. But given the fact that I've been an admin member and what I'm doing, just for me personally, I would like to see somebody else win, because I just think sod's law, I'll get my free ticket and it'll be me that wins something. But
so the last time Jay did say something like that, can you remember what happened?
Yeah, yes. You won twice, didn't you?
No, well, I won the very first prize, and I was the one that was drawn the prize.
Yeah.
No, I turned around. Yeah, but I turned around because I was admin. I said, I'm not going to be part of this raffle. And then everybody else turned around and said, well, we're not running the raffle unless your name goes in there. So my name went in there. It was the first one out.
And I'm sorry, that's the way it's going to work this time. Paul and Lee, you both do so much for the group. It's about time you came as a guest instead of an employee of the meetup. Like I say, you've both done so much, given so much to all of us. If I don't see you stood there with a raffle ticket, then we're not serving.
The thing is, though, Jay, Kev will
attest. No, Mr. Hope, stop.
No, I'm just saying, Seb Chandler gets a big shout out for arranging the Adele watch party, and then he had to hand over the reins. And the nightmare when you arrange a meet-up in the UK is, one, you don't know if it's going to be the Sky game. So we have had a little bit of drama over the last couple of weeks where Jamie had booked the room with one member of the venue. They then left, and we weren't sure whether we were going to get the zone if we weren't on Sky. So there was a lot of texting going backwards and forwards on Friday. Hickory's agreed to purchase the business package if needed. And then we woke up to the news, which we knew would happen this week, Lee, for one of the Sky games. So for those people who are coming to Sheffield, I can confirm that we will be watching the game. I don't think you're joining us this time, are you, Kev, on Sunday?
No, not on this one. No, hangover from the night before. So yeah, I'll be chilling watching it on my sofa. yeah.
So it is a 6 o'clock game in the UK. So obviously that's another reason why we've picked it. I know John Chapman has already started the weather watch, and the weather doesn't look great in Cleveland. But when I watched this show earlier,
bit of snow, yeah.
Apparently, it's not going to be during the game. But we all know what happened the last time the Niners played in Cleveland and it rained. But we'll save that for the preview show. We can't finish off a review show without talking about the Prediction League. So, Jay, do you have any last words about the Sheffield Watch Party, or can we transition into Lee's favourite segment of the show, especially where he's in the table at the moment?
Just keep an eye out on the Facebook group. I'll post pictures of everything that we've got available. And remember, it's Prince of Wales Hospice Pontefract that all the any funds raised will be going to. But no, I look forward to seeing so many faces I haven't seen for a long time in Sheffield. And Lee, prediction up, buddy.
So, it was a bit of a dead heat this week, which is unusual when the 49ers win. No, seriously, it is. It's unusual for it to be dead heat, but we all ended up with 2 points each, including the podcast faithfuls. So
I think
there's
most
no
of
real
the group
change.
did. Yeah, there was only one person got 4, one person got 5, and then Mike Hall got 7, and everybody else, all 47 of us in total, got 2 points across the
Yeah.
board.
Do you know you get
That sounds
accused
about
of
right.
certain catchphrases, Lee? So Andy Lund apparently is doing well in both the prediction league and the Pick'em competition. And someone had asked him,
Right.
are you pretty much a bit of an expert? And he dropped a quote in Discord earlier about just predicts better. And I thought, I like that,
Yeah.
Andy. I'm going to steal that
Yeah.
for tonight's show. Now, I'm smirking, Kev, because I said this is Lee's favourite segment, given where he is in the table. Now, Lee's risen to second, and I thought he would take this opportunity to point out that I am last. And everybody who watches knows I always do these with my heart, not my head. But I believe, Kev, there was no dirty points this week, was there?
0 dirty points. Nobody was even really close to it, to be honest. Everybody went for a Niners win, thus everybody ended up with 2 points. It was a bit of it almost felt like it could be a scoregami game, that one. It was a very odd score. But no, we had no dirty points for the second week running. So incredible scenes from
Who
the
was
faithful.
closest then, Lee, out of the podcasters? Who was the closest with the score? Or did none of us get it anyway?
None of you. None of you.
I mean, all 4 of us pretty much went with very similar scores. I mean, we were all in the 20s for the Panthers. Other than Najee, we were all in the 30s for our score. So yeah, we were an absolute country mile away from getting this right. And I think I was, me, you, and the podcast faithfuls were 1 penalty away from getting the bonus, because it was 5 flags.
Oh, to be honest,
Not
I didn't.
6.
So was there any moments in the Discord thread that were related to the score prediction? Because I believe the language was a little bit colourful, to the point where the 49ers themselves even tweeted out after dark. And as soon as I saw that, I had to share, because I don't think they meant what we mean, Kev. I think they were meaning about
I don't know.
and the flyover.
I think there might be a member in our group somewhere that's part of the 49ers media. That is definitely the case. That's what I'm believing anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I obviously didn't think that after dark meant what I thought it meant, because I ended up getting Kev to change the rules.
So a couple of weeks ago, Lee, in one of the games, we weren't playing so well. I didn't realise that swearing was banned. So I dropped, I think, an F-bomb. And everybody straight away was like, how on earth can they get away with that? And Kev was like, yeah, the whole admin team can. So then straight away I was getting people inboxing me saying, can you turn that on for me? Yes, Connor, I'm naming you. And I was like, I've already abused my privilege. So I wake up the next morning and see you guys had switched it on. It is all tongue-in-cheek and a bit of good humour.
So just a quick check. We have switched it off again, though, haven't we?
It's channel specific. So it's role specific, so admins can do it, and it's channel specific. So the swear room where things disappear instantly has got it on there, so people can say what they like in there and it disappears. I added the game day thread to that list of channels. So when I did that, I then did look forwards to the remaining fixtures of the season, and I realised, we've got some early morning games coming up there. I hadn't realised around the festive period, so I'll do the same again for those games. Obviously, we like to try and keep it family friendly. We've got 6 o'clock games, 9 o'clock games, and people have notifications and whatnot. But
now I know that I had nothing to do with language whatsoever. I can now start bringing on my adverts for lovehoney.co.uk.
Go for your life.
Yeah.
So for our American friends who are watching, obviously for us a prime time game is what we call an after dark game. It's late in the UK. And I think we've said before, being a fan of the NFL in the UK, until you find a community like ours, you think you sat at home on your own. So the game day thread does add an element of kind of that togetherness. And I'm guessing the way the game went, Kev, the thread was quite, I say, easy to manage, given that Lee sat there with a smirk on his face.
Well, seeing as though I didn't have to manage everything because everybody just could say whatever they wanted. I didn't have to do any admin. But I think just to reiterate your point, Paul, especially those games, those early morning games, I find Discord invaluable, to be honest. If I was sat there on my own watching it, it's a completely different experience than watching it with people. And we had new members joining this week. It was their first experience of a game day thread. Loved it. Said that it added something extra to the game day experience. So if you haven't been involved in one already, I'd recommend getting over there. It's a great way to spend the game.
And I think, Lee, for me, when I found the group, the game day thread was on Facebook, and that added to what Kev said. I thought I was the only 49ers fan in the UK. You then find a community. You then sat at home watching the game day thread. And the reason we moved over to Discord was because the algorithm on Facebook was a nightmare. And the reason we all like Discord is it keeps the comments in order. And I must admit, when Nadji mentioned it, I'm going to show my age, Kev. I only really used Discord for the flag football team, and we didn't use it to the strengths that you guys use it for. And I did think, it's another social media thing to manage. So I'm kind of glad that I took a back step at the time, and you and Nadji tend to be the ones that run it. So it has added another element. And this is where I think, Jay, when you turn up to the meetups, it's transitioning from those comments in the game day thread to meeting people. And that's what I'm looking forward to Sunday, Lee. As Jay said, hopefully we can just turn up and be guests. We can just turn up and watch the football on Sunday and let Jay and Jamie and all the rest who've put this meetup together, and we can just enjoy, buddy. We don't have to do anything by the sound of it. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to drive us down there, but other than that, you're either on mute, Jay, or you've pulled your cable out for the mic.
So when you say drive us down there, Lee, I believe that you had a message from a group member today, which you responded to quite politely, if I believe right. Yeah.
Sure, Sanders' biggest fan. He wants to jump in the back of my car. I'm quite surprised that he's confident enough to get in the back of my car and think he's going to get there alive. But yes, we'll be bringing one extra down with us.
Yeah.
Do you know whether he's going to have a half and half shirt on for the game, or what's he wearing?
Given his vintage empire, Kev, it wouldn't surprise me.
He's got a few.
The 94 Deion Sanders primetime classic with the primetime classes and whatever. Is it Colorado College? But it'll be good to see Connor. And as he said, Lee is driving us down in style, which that's why he's coming, Lee. He's coming in there, he's coming in your car, so we'll get there in one piece. But sorry, Jay, back to you, buddy.
No, I just want you two to turn up and enjoy a night as a guest and not have to worry about everything else. It's in safe hands.
well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm looking forward to the beef brisket most.
Yes. On that note, does any of you fine gentlemen have any final thoughts before we start to let these good people get out of here? We do try to keep the show to 1 hour. We've gone a little bit over. Apologies for the tech issues at the start.
That was my fault.
So I'll come to you first, Kev. Any final thoughts? Because we are going to look ahead to the Browns game in the preview show, so we won't go down that road. But any final thoughts about Monday Night Football or anything we've talked about tonight?
No other thoughts from me, other than to have an amazing watch party and break the C word. I won't mention it.
That's banned in the Discord game day thread.
I'll add that to the swear filter. I'll add that one in, but allow every other word that's available.
And obviously, before I come to Lee and Jay, I always forget this, that we watch an American sport, and obviously in America, it's Thanksgiving. I did think Lee had gone over. I'm not going to lie. He went very quiet in the Awesome Foursome group chat about Friday morning, Saturday, and then he edited the pod on Sunday, and he texted me, and I was like, you in San Francisco? And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, yeah, definitely. But then he sent me a picture with his Christmas tree, so I knew he wasn't. But yeah, I echo what Red Jet Shell says there. Happiest of holidays for everyone. Please be safe and enjoy the day with your family and friends. And Lee, do you have any final thoughts, buddy, before we get out of here?
Just to echo what you've just said. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody over the pond tomorrow. Have a really good day, and let's look forward to beating the Browns on Sunday night and hopefully a snow game.
So massive thank you to everybody who joined us today for the review show. As I said at the start, the Niners picked up a huge primetime win over the Panthers, and the UK faithful showed up strong tonight. If you enjoyed the show, please do all that good stuff. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share the show with any of your Niners fans. We'll be back later this week to take a look at the Browns game. Keep those notifications switched on. And all that is left for me to say is stay safe and go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
And again.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side. Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the